case you're wondering about the fingers being held up, it helps me to know what show I'm on. This is show number 7. Um, it takes me to Hawaii, straight out of Vietnam. I went to the University of Hawaii. I went there as a resident, as a matter of fact. I said that was going to be my home from then on. And there was a problem, is that Hawaii was to be my stepping stone to the South Pacific. Let me talk to you a little bit about that. When I was about 15, 16, my family and I went to see the musical South Pacific. I think the movie star was Mitzi Gaynor, but I won't swear to it. And up till that point, I had thought I was contemplating being a medical missionary for a profession. I saw that movie, and by the time I walked out of the movie, I wanted to go to some South Sea Pacific island, live in a grass shack, and marry Bloody Mary's daughter. My mother was devastated, but I held on to that dream, even graduating from high school. I said that's what I wanted to do. My problem was Vietnam and war, and I didn't think I had the right to go off and live a peaceful, uh, idyllic life when all these little wars were happening all over the place because I was getting committed to trying to find some way to end war. I know that sounds silly, but there's some aspects of that I'd like you to explore a little bit. Um, you know, if I'm right that we choose for our higher selves, we choose to come on down because it's interesting. We could have a serious word with our higher selves and ask that we know humans no longer hurt one another and no longer hurt the planet. Whatever goal or whatever it is that we're going to do on this plane won't involve those two things, harming one another and harming the planet itself. Maybe the higher selves would listen. I don't know. I mean, it's us. We're the ones responsible if you buy into that. I wouldn't buy into it unless it helped you to care. It helps me. But if it doesn't help you, I wouldn't take it on. I ended up in Hawaii, and my dreams and goals were being challenged because taking off for some South Sea Island was like turning my back on the world. Now, I got to admit, from pretty much from that day on, I lived as far outside of the economic system as I could get away with. And for quite a while there, I was living very far outside the economic system because I felt that the economic system contributed to war. Still do. But interesting enough, the idea of living your life simply isn't just a matter of trying to reduce the situation in terms of war, but now it's a matter of living simply because a complicated lifestyle leads to a higher global footprint. And my understanding is that the average American, with the resources that it requires for an average American to live, we would use up 8 of our planets if everybody on the planet lived that way. So I was kind of interested. I wonder what we would have to do or what lifestyle we would have to have so that a planet wouldn't get used up by all the 8 billion people if they were living that lifestyle. And with that came a commitment to live as simply as we could get away with. Thank goodness I married a lady who can relate to it or at least can tolerate it. Um, but from Vietnam on, the idea of living as simply as possible was an important goal of mine. It changed a little bit when there was some great sorrow that happened in my life, and the only way I could deal with it was working so hard. So I ended up taking regular jobs, 2, 3, just so that I would work so hard I didn't have time to think. That's how I dealt with the pain. I don't know if I was smart or not, but that's what I did. Anyway, ended up in Hawaii and uh, with changing my mind about my goals. But one week, I don't remember when it was, I took a vacation from the main island, Oahu, where the University of Hawaii was. And I don't remember what island I went to. It might have been Hilo, it might have been Maui, I'm not sure which. But there I had heard of a place called, I think it was called the Taylor Ranch. And on the Taylor Ranch, there was a community of people who lived in trees. See, the building code didn't apply to tree houses. So you could have a tree house and the building code people would leave you alone. There was a whole community of people living there. And I met one guy who his primary function in life was to supply food from the ocean to the residents of that community. Sat up all night with them, or a great deal of the night. He was sharing his views, his dreams, how he had ended up where he was. I believe he was an AWOL soldier whose dream was to be a designer. The next day, I'm sitting on the beach writing songs, and I wrote the song I'm about to go into, though I don't remember the words exactly. I'll have to tell you the story. But there was a huge party going on behind me with all the members of the community. Now, none of them knew me particularly, but there was a lot of marijuana and a lot of celebrating. It ended up that the guy I had set up that night talking to had died. He had gotten caught in some sort of current, and the current pulled him out and had killed him. The last person he ever really shared with was with me. And while all of that was going on, the song I was writing went something like this. Fisherman, you're old and bent, your hair is gray. Fisherman, you can't go fishing today. Your nets are torn and your boat has many leaks. The fisherman said, I must go out. I've 10 mouths to feed and it's my responsibility. So the fisherman fixed his nets and put rosin in the leaks and took the boat and started to face out into the ocean where there was a huge storm coming up. And the village folks were begging him, said, Fisherman, you can't go out there. It's too dangerous. He said, No, you don't understand. I must go out. I've 10 mouths to feed, and it's my responsibility. So the fisherman, he goes out into the storm. He braves the storm, the lightning, and the thunder, and the waves, and he gets a pretty good catch of fish and brings it back. And the villagers are saying, We thought you'd never again be seen. We thought by now you lay at the bottom of the sea. He says, But don't you see? I couldn't die. Don't you see? I had to try. I've 10 mouths to feed, and it's my responsibility. That's the song that I wrote the day after talking to the man who was providing for this community. And obviously, it didn't do too much good because he did die. I don't know. Trying to believe in those, assume those things that most help us to care. Wherein lies that, I don't know. But I assumed it was part of my destiny to spend time with that man. There's a sadness that comes to me with it when I'm thinking of him. I wrote another song at that time. Strange song, very strange song. It was reminiscent for my father, or I wrote it for my father in a sense. It went like this. Listen to the wind, my son. Listen to the breeze. Listen to the wind, my son. It comes from 1,000 seas. In the desert, you will find one lone blue feathered tree. 7 leagues toward ocean cloud lies something belonging to me. Beneath that cloud there lies a pearl, larger than any man's strength and more beautiful than all the days. Beneath the pearl there lies a pouch containing diamond ring, 2 emeralds and a ruby. Bring the diamond ring back to me. The sun, he found the blue feathered tree, and he found the ocean cloud. He captured the wind and the breeze and weaved it into a shroud. He placed the cloth over the pearl, and the cloth became a living soul. And then the pearl became a most beautiful girl. The sun, he married that beautiful girl with the emerald eyes and the ruby's lips, and his father gave them the wedding ring. Where that song comes from and how it helps a person to take on a perspective that most helps them care, I don't know. But that's one of the songs that I wrote sitting on the beach. Oh, I didn't tell you. It ended up that that place where the community was where they had used as the set for Bali High in the musical that I had seen on South Pacific. So I ended up there. I ended up on Bali High. Yeah, I know. It's stretching it a little bit, but that's where I ended up. Our dreams and our goals, they take on a life of their own sometimes. I wouldn't take that one on unless it helps you to care. Don't forget, this whole business is looking at the things we assume about ourselves and the world around us that most help us to care for ourselves, all others, the earth and what's beyond the earth, as best as we are able. And for us to be leaders and choose leaders that embrace caring and be leaders and choose leaders and then withdraw our support from those leaders who embrace disregard. I believe war can end. I believe that we can evolve, and evolve means caring. I believe as a human species, we're going to evolve. In fact, I believe it's happening right now. I think it's happening all over the world that we're evolving. It may sound a little Pollyannish, or maybe it sounds a lot Pollyannish. Maybe it's grandiose, but I think we can get tired of making those assumptions about ourselves and the world around us that lead to misfortune, that leads to sadness and sorrow. We can assume things about ourselves. We can assume that we're great cosmic beings if it helps. We can assume that some loving God forgave us of sins if it helps. Whatever it is that helps us to care, we can take on assumptions that most help us. Please think about it. And, I'm running out of time a little bit. I have a goal that 90% of the world's population will at least be exploring the idea that we can choose our assumptions that most help us to care. Well, that end date for me, that goal date, is December 31st, midnight on 2030. So I'd appreciate if you spread the word that we can choose our assumptions and we can choose assumptions that most help you to care. Listen, I'm going to go now. You and your entire family, you have a good life, a good, rich, vibrant, full life. And I'll catch you the next time around. This is Storyteller Greg saying goodbye.